happy Father's Day. Mishi is an actress. She's a reality TV star. She says, you are an amazing mom and dad at the same time. I celebrate all single moms that double up their duties as fathers out there, and to all the amazing dads that we still have. That message goes on to read, saying not all of them are deadbeats. That's Mishi Dora's post there that was seen on social media. This is DJ Piera McKenna. She says, big shout out to all super mothers who take up the role of a father when the man cannot be one. Happy Father's Day to all great dads. So Piera here saying, you know, basically she's a mom, and she's basically giving a big shout out to all super moms who take up the role of father when the man can't be one. Looks like there's an underlying message there. And this is a model. This is Amber Ray. She says, happy Father's Day, Amber Ray. So this is interesting. All these ladies are young moms, and that's what we saw on social media this past weekend. We would have expected to see more dads celebrated, but unfortunately that's the trend we saw. So my guests in studio this evening got a very interesting panel. Remember, we invite you to share your views using the SMS number 22422. A lot of mothers are already naming and shaming these deadbeat dads, but I won't be getting involved in that fight tonight. We'll be looking more at the solutions. So tonight in studio is Njeri Musheru. She's the founder, Mary Manger's charity. It's a charity that helps women in abusive relationships. Jerry is also an advocate of the High Court. Thank you for being with us. We're also joined by Flavor Mangula. He's a life and leadership coach. He's here hopefully to be the voice of reason to all the deadbeat dads out there. Thanks for being with us, Flavor. And we're also joined by Simon Anyona, who is a sociologist. Thanks for being with us, Simon. Just looking at this trend and what it's all about. Thanks for being with us, Simon. Let's begin with you, Njeri. So we've defined the term deadbeat as a man who sires a child and deliberately refuses to provide material support for the upkeep of the child, even when he has the means to do so. In your view, what's a deadbeat dad? Because from the comments that we're getting, there are those dads that provide financially but aren't present. Then there are those that are present but do zero financially for the child. So in your view, what is a deadbeat?
In my opinion, a child needs two things from a parent, both mother and father. The child needs to be raised and also needs to be provided for. Now, raising a child is about imparting your wisdom about life to this child. Providing for the child has a monetary value, but raising a child has got no monetary value. So if you're raising a child, providing comes automatically. But if you're not doing the raising, then you are deadbeat. Because that child, if they don't have any wisdom, no matter how much money you may leave them or save or invest for their future, they are never going to get to wherever you want them to go. So for me, deadbeat is any mother or father who is not raising a child, being there for them, spending time with that child, not money, time. Just picking up that child, even just going for a walk, just to hear what that child has to talk about. Somebody who has no time for their children is deadbeat.
Flavor, we're getting a lot of reactions from single moms out there who say, you know, I find myself taking my child for a haircut. I'm the one that's taking my child for soccer practice. I'm the one that's literally, and especially for the boy child, I suppose it becomes very difficult for mothers because they're having to step in for the roles of these men in these children's lives. What is a deadbeat?
Thanks, Lillian. I mean, for the most part, a deadbeat dad is a human being or a dad who is like what Njeri is saying. A dad who is not present. As a father, when you said you're a provider, protector, you're the promoter of your children, and your wife per se, the mother of your children, it's about being present. It's not about even just providing. I mean, I see some fathers who are saying that they're not deadbeat because they provide money. It's not about providing that money. I always say that it's more important what you leave in your children than what you leave for your children. And being present, I mean, it's very unfortunate to see a lady taking her son for a haircut, unless she's a widow. If she's a widow, that's understandable, and yet still you can still gain some friends who can be able to do that for your son. Because no matter how well you raise a son as a mother, by the time the child gets to 13 years, they start looking at you like a woman and not a mother. So you need a man to be able to call out the man in that child who is a boy. And being a father is more than just that procreation, giving the seed to a woman to make a child. It means you being present within the pains, the joys, the raising of the child, the making sure that they get moral bearing, their true north in life. That is all the role of a father. And if you're not able to provide that leadership, then by all means, then you are deadbeat completely.
I'll come to you, Simon, very shortly. And Jerry, the feedback we're getting is from women who seem very, very bitter about how this situation played itself out. Yet the men that are writing in are saying that they are caught between genuine love for their child and a woman who exploits that situation to settle past scores. In other words, I'm not in a relationship with you, you're angry at me, we have a child together, the environment is toxic, I come to see the child, I'm anticipating a certain reaction, and therefore the men saying they choose to just stay away.
Well, you know, one thing men need to understand is that a child needs their mother, and only a happy mother is going to raise happy children. So it is your job, in as much as you may be separated from this lady, it's your job to find a way of reconciling and agreeing on an arrangement that works for you and the mother of these children you claim to love. Because if you ask those children about the woman who is taking care of them as their mother, they'll tell you she's the queen of the universe and they love her so much. So if you do love your children, then it's part of you raising your children to show them that you are able, you have the wisdom to be able to make friends with their mother and reach an agreement that is suitable for their mother and the children. There is no way you can try to exclude the mother and say, I just want the children. It's never going to happen, because she's the one raising the children, she's the one living with the children. So it's important. If it's counseling you need, suggest it, you know, but be a man and stand up and say, what wisdom do I need to be able to deal with this woman? Go to church if that's what it takes.
Do you think it should be a shared responsibility, especially even in cases where you know that this guy is more financially able, he's better paid perhaps than you are? Do you still believe there's room for shared responsibility, or should the onus be on the man to take up total responsibility financially?
No, I believe in what the Bible says, that children are a blessing from God. And to me that means that anybody who has a child, as mother or father, has a sacred duty to take care of that child. Now, whether it's going to be equal or not, the equality depends on how much you're putting in, not financial calculations about you're going to put 50,000, this one is going to put 100. No. It's what you're putting in. And as I said, the most important thing is what? Wisdom. Is being able to raise this child and impart wisdom. So you cannot quantify this equality. The thing is both of you to realize that you are the parents of these children, so you need to get along the best way you can and then take care of the children together, even if you're separated.
And Simon, from the social media posts you saw there, women are actually dealing with this reality. And even on our 22422, a lot of women are saying, look, this man is able financially. He's out there living a life. And we're not talking about quote unquote illegitimate children. We're talking about children as a whole. I mean, but these women are coming out to say these are men who are financially able. They're actually present. They're in this Nairobi we live in, or Kisumu or whatever, in the same town with the mothers of their children, but have totally chosen to stay away. What's this trend about?
Lillian, what you're seeing is an effect of many things that have come into play within our society. And part of it is attributable to westernization and the values that we are taking up from the West. And I would differ, I would beg to differ slightly with a description that any child, however they came into this world, that they can be illegitimate. No child is illegitimate. Anybody who is born into this world is legitimate, is entitled to be in this world, is entitled to be born, is of course born of a man and a woman, and is entitled to live a balanced family life. And so what you're seeing now is an effect of...
So you wouldn't say that this happens more with children that are sired out of wedlock, that it's an all-round phenomenon, that whether, I mean, if a deadbeat is a deadbeat to his own children, then he's a deadbeat to children that he got out of marriage as well?
Yes, ideally, that is that is the accurate description of that. A deadbeat is a deadbeat. Whether the children that you are neglecting were sired within a marriage or outside a marriage. If you sire a child, you should take up the responsibility of actually taking part in raising that child's life, in raising up that child, and ensuring that you bring them up to be balanced human beings who, of course, receive the love from the love that they need from their mother, and also the firm love and care that they also need from the father. And so it is really a situation that is not going to get any better. And I will tell you that with the way things are, if you look at the statistics, for any living species to remain in existence, the ratio of males to female, has to be between 1 and 4. And so we will never realize a situation where we will have one woman for every one man for every woman. So there's always going to be a number of women who will be without a man. But it is up to us as society to actually recognize that these other women will have children. These children may be born through legitimate institutions that we have formed, like marriages. Others will be born out of failed relationships, which I would not in any way think of them as illegitimate. And others will be born out of situations that actually led to their being, what do you call it, being born. I mean, a man can meet a woman anywhere, even without a relationship, and a child is born out of that. And so we will always have that kind of situation. But it is up to us as society to start accepting that even within a marriage, if I'm a man within a marriage and I have sired a child or children outside, I have a responsibility to actually take care of those children, to actually provide for them and take care of them.
Flavor, Simon here is talking about one man in every 4 women, and this one man is the same man that's being a deadbeat with this one woman and all the other 3. So I mean, the narrative is the same. There's not one single mother of the children of this, I mean, woman who has the children of this man that will say that he treats my children better. So what's this trend about? Why are guys bailing on their responsibilities as dads?
One of the most amazing reasons that I've seen in society is that men these days are not even recognized. Men have switched off from very many areas. They've switched off from taking responsibility. They've switched off from being leaders. They've switched off from being a good brother. Switched off from being, support in society in general. So the whole continuum, in terms of the male species along the entire line, is in a failed state. And as we were seeing these celebrities talking themselves of being fathers, Lillian, you cannot be a daddy when you're a woman. You can play some roles of a father, but you can never be a dad. But
you're not there, so what option am I left with?
So I'm going there. So there are cousins, there are brothers, there are friends who are male in your life that you can actually call upon and help you, because even in our ancient of days, our parents were raised in a village. Determine what your village is. It can be your mother, your brother, your cousin, your uncle, and your grandmother, who will then be able to input to the children, irrespective of a deadbeatness in terms of a father. In fact, being a deadbeat doesn't mean that you have to be a father who has sired a child and you're not present. Even in a nuclear, family, where his father and mother are living in the same house, that dad can be a deadbeat. And you not even realize it. Because if you're not imparting in your children, you're not providing leadership, you're an absentee father, you're not even checking the homework, you're leaving everything, abdicating everything to the house help and the mother of the house and the teachers, because the children are going in a good school, there is deadbeatness. And
yeah, which brings me to my previous question, yes. Tunjeri. You're present in the home, we live together, but you might as well be a deadbeat because Absolutely. You're never there.
Exactly.
We never see you.
So some of these married women who are actually pointing fingers to the ladies who have deadbeat fathers, some of them are actually living with deadbeat husbands. And you know what? It's a call to the women. Don't accept mediocrity. Don't accept mediocrity. If the person has sired a child, the responsibility of raising that child is upon both of you, like just what Njeri was saying. more than even equality, there's equity. We have to put equal measure. There's a portion that dad brings on the table, there's what mom brings on the table, and the other members of the village bring on the table. So it's important that we recognize the responsibility of the village in raising the child.
There's a guy here who's saying many women found who are single parents are not being sincere. They either failed to positively identify fathers, they go for wrong people, or they declare themselves single. No man has the power to fail to support his child, whether sired in or out of marriage. This is D. Otuko in Kakamega. Flavor, if you could just share your personal story with us a little bit, because I know you're a father, and how you know your situation has worked in terms of being present in your children's life, if at all you are, because I doubt there's any guy out here who's going to say, I'm a deadbeat, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do.
Well, many people can speak on my behalf. I mean, I'm very passionate. For those who know me, I'm very passionate about fatherhood and just raising proper children in society. That takes a lot of pain. I was just telling Simon before we came on the show that it's a very painful process. I'm a single dad. I've raised my children. My son is 18 years old. My daughter is 16 years old. Actually, today she's attending her prom night. I was supposed to take her, but I told her, you'll have to forgive me. And we had an agreement on the fact that I'll have to go for her at midnight. So those are some of the nuances. I mean, and it takes a lot of pain and time. You've got to separate yourself from even your friends. The usual golf that, like, someone is talking about, I have no handicap now. I think I'm a handicap 28. It messed me up completely, because I had to separate all that for the sake of those kids. I inputted into their lives on a daily basis. I did homework with them. I attended every school function. When my daughter started having her menses, I was the first person she came to. I guided her. I brought together her village, my mom, my friends. They talked to her about this sanitation issues and stuff, and I was present, Lillian. So we have a bond that is irrevocable. My son, the same. I've raised him, I've taught him hygiene, cleanliness, what to expect, how to treat a woman, how to be a gentleman. These things you do not just instruct. You've got to live them, and you've got to nurture them, you've got to mentor and coach the children.
So it took a lot of sacrifice on your part.
Absolutely.
Just letting go of some of the things that you really like doing as Flavor, just to focus on these
Absolutely.
kids.
And you see, it's for a bit of time, because we are custodians for about just 18 to 20 years. After that, they leave the nest. My son will be in university next year. After they leave the nest, I will now be free to do the cruises, travel the world, go camping, do all the things that I missed out on. And it's not even really missing. It's just you freeze them for the purpose of the children. Because when you sire a child, it's responsibility. And you're a custodian for that child.
Jerry, also share a little bit of your story with us. It's public knowledge that you're separated. So for you, what are some of the things that you're struggling with, or that you feel are, well balanced in terms of how you relate with the father of your children and his presence in their life? And if not, what are the things that you're extremely upset about?
Well, my situation is such that now I am a single mother, divorced, and basically I do everything. Their father chooses what he wants to do, and then he does that. And if he doesn't do it, I have to do it. So it's taught me a lot that for me, what matters is they are my children, and I have a duty to them. And I don't need to go to their dad and tell their dad, even you, it's your duty to do this and that. No. He chooses what he wants to do, and I respect that. And then I go to my God and my family, and I tell them, now these are my responsibilities. Can we help each other out on how to deal with them? But
can I just come in right there? Women have condoned, and this is an observation from our feedback earlier, that women have condoned and even encouraged this culture of letting men go scot-free for so long until they become entitled to it. So when you say that that he does what he wants to do, the rest you leave it up to God, don't you think that this is encouraging this culture? Don't you think that wherever he is, he knows that even if he doesn't do it, it will be done anyway?
Well, let me explain this, Lillian. I am a lawyer. A practicing lawyer. I've practiced law for 20 years. And I have seen what happens when you go to children's courts and when you go to divorce courts. Ultimately, it becomes an ego fight. the judges and magistrates, they're tired with all these cases. They're not interested in your drama. So you go there, certificate of urgency saying, oh, it's so urgent, he has not paid school fees, blah, blah, blah. Then the thing is read by a magistrate who then tells you come back after 3 months. You know, at the end of the day, unless we can be able as a society to create a means by which people like these are policed by society, not by me. I cannot police this guy. He has brothers, sisters, mothers, uncles. All those people are there. But at the end of the day, when my marriage broke down, I was on my own. And none of them was willing to stand up and say anything. And so at the end of the day, it's the way I find peace. I find peace by not creating in my home now, where I've escaped to, the same kind of abusive environment that was there in the matrimonial home. So now what I do is I set the boundary that this is now my house. And so I call the shots in this house. Yeah. So whatever it is you want to do for the children, you choose and do it. But I am not going to follow him. I am not going to police him. That one I refuse to do because I know I cannot. And that's why I ran away in the first place. And
you see, Simon, this is a sense of exhaustion, and that's what we're getting here, that some women don't pursue child support because it's time-consuming, it's financially demanding, and even emotionally draining. And we look at the court system in Kenya right now as well when it comes to the children's court, just exactly what Njeri is saying, coming a lot here, that these women have found no help whatsoever from the children's court, and therefore they just choose to raise their children on their own.
Right. Child support is not a legal issue. It is not a legal matter. It doesn't have to be settled by the court. This is actually a social issue. Yeah. And the men should actually have the responsibility of actually going ahead, going that extra mile, and supporting every child that you have sired on this into this life. But also, Lillian, you will also realize that this issue of deadbeat dads also has another aspect of it that is castigated by the women. The women who actually are very fortunate to have a husband and children, and this husband happens to have children who are not within that that family, they terrorize this man whenever he makes any attempt to go and support those other children. They will be there all up in his case, causing all sorts of drama, because they don't want this man to channel any form of support to those other children that have been sired out there. And so this is a societal issue. People need to recognize that there will be children who may not be within the institutions of marriage, but they're entitled to the love and care that they deserve, and that these things don't have to go to the courts. People should actually have personal responsibility.
But society must be involved. There is no way my brother will neglect his children and I sit there and I support him and I tell him, yes, you please just do what you want. You know what I mean? They must have some kind of pressure being put on them from their side of the family, because their side of the family cannot claim not to have seen these kind of things happening. You see, but the response we get is total and complete silence from the other side. Probably because, you know, first of all, he's the one who even provides for them. So they don't want to rock the boat. But these are people who treat children like the way they treat projects. So, you know, your child, you place your children here next to maybe a business that you're running or your hotels. So when it comes to dividing your time, the time you're giving the hotel is more than your children, but you know, you're just juggling, because your children are not human beings who need wisdom and love. To you, they need time and money.
And hold that thought, Flavor, as we come back very shortly. In news just in, several people have been injured in an accident involving over 10 cars along Thika Road near the Blue Post Hotel. It's not yet clear what caused the accident, but police have been deployed to the scene. Motorists are being asked to exercise caution as they approach the area. Once again, in news just in, several people reported injured in an accident involving over 10 cars along Thika Road near the Blue Post Hotel. We don't have details on what the cause of the accident was, but we understand that police are currently at the scene and will give you more details as and when we get them. Back to our discussion. Deadbeat fathers, men who refuse to provide financially for their children, although they have the ability to do so. Flavor, you were jumping in.
Yes, I was actually wanting to speak on the issue of, you know, when we have issues with dad and mom, and we are not careful in how we're discussing these issues, especially where the children are concerned, what really happens is that we're actually inputting some very negative values within the children's minds that in another 5, 10, 6, 20 years, what we have will be almost a repeat, if not maybe a worse situation of what we have currently. We have to be very careful that no matter how messed up the other parent is, let's be very careful in how we talk about them in the presence of the children. No matter how much pain we bear, even if you want to express pain, please do it away from where the children are, because then that messes up the child.
So you're saying that I should not outrightly, for instance, tell my child that your father doesn't do anything for you. Even when the child is crying, I want to see my daddy, I want to see my daddy, and you know this guy does a zero for this child.
Let's find a way of meeting that need in the child. But when you tell the child that your dad is useless, he's da-da-da, this is, at the end of the day, no matter how useless the dad is, that's the dad for that child, unfortunately. You know, and it was actually a result of your decision.
And the truth is, if that is what he is, it will come out without you having to say it.
You don't have to tell the child.
So you might as well just keep quiet and let the children get to see the true colors. They'll come out.
The trend is, with such deadbeats, they usually make themselves known when their children, when their sons become the Obamas
lawyers.
of this world.
Yes.
Or when they become successful surgeons.
But karma comes and sorts them out sometimes.
Yes.
Because let me tell you, Lillian, I mean, in this world, you will not do a negative thing to someone and it goes scot-free.
Get away with it.
You won't get away with it. There's a way that it will sort itself out in your life, and it will come at a time when you least expect it. Do good. Wanasemanga tenda member enda zako. So no matter how pained you are, let's remember, it is very important what we leave in our children, not for them. Very critically important.
I want to get your thoughts on these single mums outrightly celebrating themselves on Father's Day. This trend and what we're speaking to the younger generation, the soon-to-be mums, when we come out there and make it known that we're actually doing this by ourselves. Do you think that is healthy? Do we have a choice really when you find yourself in such circumstances? Is there a better way to handle such a situation?
Well, I think to some extent the women who are raising, and there are many women who are raising children single-handedly, and they're doing a fabulous job, and they ought to be commended and actually appreciated for what they're doing. And even when it comes to that, such comments as we saw, where women are actually wishing themselves a happy Father's Day, I don't think it is, and there's anything fundamentally wrong with that. However, I think it would be more.
But it's basically it's literally saying go to hell. You don't exist in my life. You're not present.
In one way, it is saying that, but you will also remember the story that is long told of the hare that couldn't reach the oranges. And so they gave all sorts of reasons why they don't want the oranges, because they are bitter, but it's because they couldn't reach them. And so I think as society we have to recognize the value that a father and a mother, and the roles that father and mother play in the lives of that child, and actually look for ways of ensuring that we create an enabling platform for both the mother and the father of that child to actually actively participate in raising that child. If you look at most single mothers, I think there would be about 3 categories of single mothers. Mothers who are single as a result of relationships that have broken down. There are mothers who are single from relationships that never really materialized, and so the earlier ones would probably be those that were within an institution, the institution of marriage, but it never really worked out. Others would be children who are born as a result of a relationship that never materialized, and others are born out of casual relationships, and a child is born. Now, for that woman who was in a relationship, who was within an institution, and things never really worked out, they should actually reflect upon themselves and actually find avenues of ensuring that they encourage the fathers of the children to actually participate in their upbringing, not looking for avenues of destruction, character assassination, calling their dads useless, and calling them all sorts of names. For the women who probably got a child out of wedlock with a man, probably a man who was married, this is where now also other women also have to understand that if a man has a child, they ought to take care of that other child, and they should actually be on the forefront to encourage these men to take care of that child, because the situation could be the other way around. They could be the ones with the child, and the father to the child is actually within another institution. And so just because they are lucky now doesn't mean that they would never find themselves within that kind of a situation. For those who find themselves with children out of relationships that never materialized, or casual, one-time relationships that led to the birth of a child, again, is looking for platforms, looking for avenues of ensuring that you bring either a father figure to the to this child's life, or actually look for ways of bringing this man into the life of these children. Something
that came, a comment on my Instagram earlier today from Honorable Joyce Lay, talking about the fact that there was never an agreement or an arrangement between the two of us as partners, or speaking about what Simon is speaking about here. Maybe we're just in a casual relationship, and somehow the woman gets pregnant, and therefore forcing this responsibility on this guy who never ever planned to have a child with you in the first place. Not ethical, and therefore women, being advised to really avoid situations where they might find themselves getting pregnant with men that they're not too sure about.
Right.
Yeah.
You see, I always say, for every action is a reaction. For everything that you do as a grown-up, whatever consequences that follow your action, you need to be able to stand and be able to talk about them. And as much as we're also talking about deadbeat dads, we have to understand that they're also deadbeat moms as well.
Which we will find a forum for. Tonight we're putting the men on blast, and that's what I said.
So the men who are being called deadbeat, and they're finding themselves, like what you're saying, that they never wanted or were not looking forward to, a child from the relationship. Then if you knew that, you would have used protection, for crying out loud. I mean, if it happened and you're sure that this is your child, for heaven's sake, provide for the child. I mean, you may not like what happened, or the results of what happened was that the child came and you were not ready, so to speak, to take care of the child. But the child came, and hey, you walking away from the mother, what are you saying about yourself? It's total irresponsibility. And in the group that I lead called Muscles, we have about 250 men, and they have various institutions of marriage at various levels, and they have various struggles.
Institutions of marriage at various levels.
Yes, so maybe a one-year-old marriage, 20-year-old marriage, a marriage that's on the rocks, that kind of stuff. So we tend to work together to balance it out. We're not saying that
what of a scenario where this guy reneged on his responsibilities to this woman, but moves on to perhaps another clandestine relationship, a clandestine relationship, and totally does everything for the children in this relationship or for the child in this relationship, but totally forgets the fact that he has other children with the other woman.
So unfortunately, Lillian, some of these things you can't even...
That's mental, you're saying?
Yeah, so now people who are... I don't know what you call it.
There's no man. There's no man who has no capacity to provide.
You have to provide for that child. You can't just walk away from a woman and you give that woman a child, and you can see that the child is struggling, and the woman is also maybe probably struggling. She's probably doing 2 jobs, and she's really struggling to raise your child, and you feel nothing about it.
What of a situation where the woman has now started another relationship, and because there's another man in her life, then you pretty much say, okay, you brought another dude into your life, then let him take care. Let him take care of that child.
Really, there you
irrespective of the fact that that's not his child.
That's not his child. So there again, you have to be very adult about it. Let's sit down and talk. Let's be civil about it. These days, you can see and you'll appreciate that there's so many blended families. Where mama comes with a child, daddy comes with some child, and probably you sire another child in between. And these two extended, families come with the baggage of a daddy and a mommy who are daddy and mommy to the child that you also daddy and mommy of. So you've got to really be very civil and not become, kind of too immature. And start saying, why are you spending time why are you allowing this person to come into this space? Why are you asking these funny questions? Because then you mess up what you're actually trying to build once again.
Okay, I'll be getting your parting remarks here as we close. This is from a single dad out of circumstance. For those of you who know Dan Sonko, he's raising his 2 boys by himself after he lost his wife. And he says, from a single dad out of circumstance, it is sad how responsibilities are absconded so easily in this day and age. So if you're a deadbeat dad there, because I know you know yourselves, yeah? I mean, from the descriptions here, you probably know if you're actually a deadbeat dad. Watch some of these guys and see how they're stepping up in their roles as fathers, how they're raising their children on their own. This is very sad. And this is a child here saying, my name is Maggie, I'm 18 years old. My dad is a total deadbeat. He prefers taking his money to bars than paying our school fees. Mom is actually everything to us. Big up to all supportive dads. It takes a real man to be called a special name that is dad. That is very sad, Jerry, to hear a child actually call her dad a deadbeat. And I'm sure this mother has not told this child that your dad is a deadbeat. This child has observed. She's 18, she's an adult now, so she knows that her dad really has never been present. So your parting remarks as you speak for women, because you deal with women, abused women, and you know their stories, their narratives, speak to the deadbeats out there, and indeed just to the women who are finding themselves in situations where they have to double up as both mom and dad as we close.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to tell all women, and especially our women leaders, to focus on this need for men to stand up in marriages and in all other areas that Flavor here has said that they have failed. Because the agendas that we put in place for our society will never be achieved if marriage is allowed to decay and destroy the way and be destroyed the way it does. It hurt me very much to read about a woman's representative who was saying that the solution to children not being taken care of is to allow everyone to be polygamous. It really, I mean, that would mean then the man is busy shopping for wives. So when is he ever going to raise these children? So we really do need to respect monogamy. And we need to understand, and you know, men like Flavor and Simon here need to go out and talk to men about why monogamy is preferable to these other things, whatever they call them. It's polygamy, but you know, they style them up in whatever other names they call, sponsorships or whatever they call them, you know, but it's all polygamy. But we really need to understand that a child, first and foremost, needs wisdom from their father. And that father is never going to be pursuing wisdom if he's out there shopping for women. He is never. Because what wisdom is there in those places? Because all they do is go and lie to another woman and tell that woman, oh, I love you, I don't love the other one, because and then we are told men don't change. They change. Because they enter into a relationship with you and you're number one and they say I do, and then before you know it, somebody else is number one, you know. So let men like Flavor and Simon come up and stand up and talk to the likes of these deadbeats. Sometimes these deadbeats just don't know what they're doing. They just need people who know that these guys are doing something wrong to go and shake them up and tell them, wake up, guy. You need to understand that this is not how we want Kenyan men to be. And we don't want this reputation for Kenyan men.
And Flavor, as we close, it is a vicious cycle, as Jerry says, and these bad manners are just getting spread all across our counties. Forgive me, but then there are a lot of women that are hurting, and I wish I could read out all these messages. Women in this nation are hurting, and they're saying these men do not care about the fact that their children are not getting provided for. And I'm really stressing on this financial aspect because it's very important. Just as it is important for them to be present, this financial aspect is really being ignored by a lot of men. So kindly be the voice of reason now that you deal with these men every day. Yeah,
thanks Lillian, and thanks Jerry and Simon as well. Today's discussion is really close to my heart. I mean, those who know me, I have a passion for men and them being restored to the position that God intended them to be. The indictment in present-day Kenya on the man is as it is, and we have failed. Honestly, we have failed in very many spaces, and we need to come back to the space where we have to understand that everything that we do in terms of reproducing, and that's basically giving children to women, we have to take responsibility. And when you call a provider, a protector, a priest, in that context, you have to understand that when you're providing, you're not only providing financially, you're providing vision as well, you're providing guidance. When you're protecting, you're not only protecting physically, you're protecting their vision of their children, you're protecting their future, you're protecting their vulnerabilities as well. We need to step up not just being the Mnyapara kind of chief kind of person or man in the house, but actually earn that title and stop wanting to compare yourself and being a star. We're spending too much time in whiskey bars, in golfing, with all due respect, Simon, on golf courses, and doing our MBAs. When was the last time we just took an hour and find out the challenges facing a 14-year-old? Maybe your child is 14 years old. Or the challenges facing a 40-year-old woman. Maybe your wife is 40 years old and she's going maybe through midlife. What are some of the challenges? How do you equip yourself to be a better man to cater for your wife and your children? That is what being a man is. Taking responsibility, taking leadership. It's as simple as that.
Right, and finally, Simon, the importance of the role, very briefly, because we're pressed for time. The importance of the role of both mom and dad in a child's life. Yes, you're separated. Yes, you don't see eye to eye. You just want to wish yourself a happy Father's Day because this guy is a deadbeat as far as you're concerned. But this is a little child who's innocent and should not really be caught up in all of this. So, you know, the importance of the presence of both parents in this child's life, even if there is an element such as financial, you know, provision missing.
The importance of the father and mother in a child's life cannot be overemphasized. It is extremely essential, and it is extremely important for a child to have both sides. They need that love and care from their mother, but they also need the love and firmness from their father. Sometimes when they make mistakes, they need to be reprimanded. The mother sometimes may feel so much love for the child and may not really be in a good position to do that. And sometimes also we have children, like boys, who after a certain age, the mother may not really be able to mentor them into life. They may not be there to teach them life's lessons, that you have to fight, you have to go there and stand out for yourself. You know, the mother will be more of a defensive person. If somebody stands up to you, you know, you need to cow down or go and report to your teacher. But if you have a dad in your life, they'll teach you some other different lessons which you would not get from your mother. But also in terms of that, we need to look at the environment in which we are living and ask ourselves, are we creating an enabling environment for that to happen? And for that enabling environment to be there, we have to extend our definition of the family, not just to look at the children who are born out of legitimate marriages and relationships, but extend that definition to even those children who are born out of wedlock, and recognize these are children. They need the love and care of the mother as much as they need the love and care of their father. And actually, society should move towards that. And just in parting, I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with polygamy. In fact, it creates a more balanced society.
That's a I completely disagree on that, Simon. Give us another hearing. That one.
Polygamy is a totally different topic altogether. But I thank you so much. I thank you so much for your thoughts. In other words, why are you having children you can't provide for? Why are you having children you can't be present for? That's food for thought. I thank you very much, Njeri Musheru. She's an advocate of the High Court. She's also the founder, Mary's Manger Charity, and that's a charity that helps women who are in abusive relationships. It's actually very abusive to know that you have a loaded guy out there who's just not doing anything.
Yes, definitely.
For your child. Yeah. So if you are in an abusive situation of whatever sorts, please look Njeri up. Flavor Mangula here is a life and leadership coach. If you're struggling with your deadbeat issues, just can't help it because it's ingrained in you, or you just find it difficult to step up in your role as a man, this is the guy to look up. That's Flavor. Thank you very much for being with us. And of course, Simon Anyona, a sociologist who helps us understand trends in society, why things are happening the way they are. You talked about westernization. Please go easy on the movies, guys. This is life, and your children need you. Okay. My name is Lillian Muli, and for all the women who are out there raising their children, doing a remarkable job, doubling up as both mom and dad, although Flavor and Simon believe that that's not possible. Kudos, we celebrate you. Keep doing the best that you can. These men will look for you when your son becomes the future president or world leader. So we thank you so much for your time, guys, and we trust that you've enjoyed your viewing. Once again, we will give you updates as and when we get them on the accident that has occurred along Thika Road near the Blue Post Hotel. Thanks for watching. I'm Lillian Muli. Good night.